Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. How was your day today? Ready for new stories I have for you today? I have 4. First one is about OP, who gave his deceased wife's jewelry to his stepson's wife as a push present. And now his daughter is furious because she thinks it belongs to her. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. 12 years ago, while my first wife was in hospice care, she said to please not bury her with her great-grandmother's rings because they'll be gone forever, and to keep it in the family. She died less than a week later, leaving behind me and our daughter, 29 female. I married my now wife, 34 female, when her son was 7. However, at 20, she had given up custody of her then 4-year-old to the father to move here, so we didn't really have contact with her son. When her son turned 13, he reached out to her and they started reconnecting. A year later, his father, stepmother, and himself all moved to New York as well, and we set up a room for him at our house. For the next 4 years, he was staying over nearly every weekend. He'd ask my wife for loads of advice and tell her things he didn't tell his dad. We were always there for all his homecomings, birthdays, award ceremonies. My wife now loves her son immensely, and I've become fond of him as well. My daughter, meanwhile, never really got close to her stepbrother because she was pretty openly hostile towards her stepmother and said she was too busy working her way through multiple degrees to hang out with her stepbrother. Soon after high school graduation, my stepson, 18 male, proposed to his girlfriend, 19 female. They moved into our guest house and they soon announced that they were pregnant. A month and a half ago, his fiancée gave birth to a boy. They were so excited to have a son, and my wife was happy to hear she had a grandson. A couple days ago, they came to my wife and I and said that when he asked his fiancée what she wanted as a push present, she said that she really didn't think the ring she had was special, and that she'd seen photos of the family heirloom rings that I had inherited from my first wife, and that nothing would make her happier than being able to wear the engagement ring now, and then the wedding band after they married. She said she wanted to feel part of our family, and now that her son was our grandson, she wanted to pass it on to him so he could give it to whoever he decides to marry, because it will be exquisite no matter what the fashion trends of the future are. After speaking with my wife, she said to have her son and his future wife in our lives is a blessing. She pointed out that my daughter has been living with her boyfriend since 23, but no word of an engagement. Meanwhile, my stepson's fiancée is now the mother of his son. So we decided to gift the rings to my son's fiancée. I called my daughter to let her know about this decision. She started screaming at me over the phone and saying that she was my family first, and how dare we assume that her boyfriend was stringing her along for marriage when they are both stressed with finding jobs in the academia job market, and she never thought her boyfriend would have to buy a ring when the time came. I reminded her that stepson is just as much family as she is, and she said I barely know him compared to her and hung up. Am I the a-hole? Oh my God, yes, OP is a massive a-hole. That ring was from her mother, who got it from her grandmother. Engagement or no engagement, what OP has done is wrong. This is not a matter of the stepson being family or anything like that. OP's wife, the original owner of the ring. I doubt she wanted the rings to go to someone she had never met. OP's daughter should have received the rings when she was old enough to take care of them. Plus, OP's daughter is right. It makes things much easier if you wait until financially settled before getting engaged. I cannot stress enough how much yes and a-hole. I feel sorry for OP to have such a trash father. I, male, 46, have a stepson, Sam, 25. I had endured so much from him since the first day I met him. He always caused me hurt, never apologized, never felt remorse or empathy, never admitted he was wrong. He kept denying help from me, made painful comments, laughed when I cried, and said I was trying to buy him with how I treated him when he was sick. I did everything for him, stayed up with him when he was sick, gave him blood when he needed blood transfusions twice, bought him CDs and drove his friends to see him. I tried in so many ways, but nothing worked. My wife told me to just leave him alone. After he damaged my car, cost me my job, and made me lose family members after he hurt them with his behavior. But I gave him an ultimatum. Either he gets help, or I won't have to put up with this anymore. I was able to get him in therapy. This was an opening. He became calm and collected. We started trusting each other. I paid for his semester in college. I helped him get a place on his own. I paid for the first 2 months, and I had a friend hire him. Sammy always keeps in contact with his bio dad. I don't get involved, but his bio dad is useless. He made zero effort to be a parent. He's always been busy stirring drama and ruining my reputation. We received an invitation for Sammy's wedding. He's been engaged for 5 months. The wedding's at his aunt's house. His aunt doesn't like me. I hesitated to go, but my wife said I needed to show Sam I support him. I decided to go. At the wedding, Sammy stayed with his dad and ignored me for hours. Didn't even let me talk to his fiance's parents. I just sat there, hoping it'd soon be over. When it was time for Sam to give a speech, he gave thanks to guests. Then started talking about his bio dad. Said his dad's always been there for him. Basically lied and said he helped him when he was sick. Helped him get a degree and a stable home. I got uncomfortable as my wife looked at me. He didn't even mention me and kept praising him. Then he said that he'll always be the one he appreciates and trusts. I've had it. I got up and walked out while everyone was sitting. Sam stopped talking and watched me walk. My wife followed me. We got into an argument and she yelled at me for being petty and ruining the event. I'm a calm person. I never yell. It takes a huge effort for them to piss me off. But that day, they didn't even have to try. I blew up at her and others who said I shouldn't have walked out and guilted me and went home. I felt like I had to suck it up, but I felt like I wasted my life for nothing. My wife thinks I overreacted and it was just a stupid speech. Not an a-hole. OP's wife doesn't sound innocent here, I'm sorry to say. She believes OP is petty? OP should ask her if he was petty when he gave blood transfusions. He gave financial, work, life security. Her saying OP overreacted says that she hasn't been by OP's side on this. When OP tried in the past to acknowledge things, his wife told him to leave him alone. She basically asked OP to keep taking his abuse and not make waves. It kinda sounds like OP's problem has been made worse by her. OP should cut him off 100%. No contact. OP should not come by the house. Since wifey thinks it's just a stupid speech, OP needs to tell her to have their conversation somewhere else when he comes. OP's wife sounds like not a nice person. My sister-in-law and I don't get along that well. At their wedding, I happened to hook up with her best friend. We had a short fling that lasted a few months before we found out she was pregnant. Had a lot of growing up to do before our son got here, but she was still in her wild party girl phase, even after he was born. She got mixed up in D, made some irresponsible choices. In the end, I fought for sole physical legal custody of my son and got it after one heck of a fight. She had supervised visitation, now just regular. During the custody battle, sister-in-law took my ex's side and my brother tried to support me. She's been nasty towards me ever since for taking her best friend's child away from her. She did that herself, without giving her a fighting chance, because I make good money and therefore had access to better attorneys. It makes family gatherings awkward sometimes when they come around. 4 years later, she's still bitter towards me over it. Gives me dirty looks, completely ignores me. Usually I prefer that over the time she openly talks crap to me and my brother has to get involved. We celebrated my son's 7th birthday. My brother and sister-in-law came with their 2 kids. I don't like her in my home, but he promised she'd be on her best behavior. Things were good for an hour until she started giving me crap for not letting his mom be there. I guess she was consoling her last night because she wasn't invited to the party and has a gift for my son. I told her she'll be able to give it to him when it's her visitation time, but she's not welcome in my home. My sister-in-law wouldn't let this go, and I finally pulled her aside and said either she shuts up about this or leaves. My brother stepped in to calm her down, but then she started her angry rant about me being a piece of crap who didn't understand how much X was struggling with her D problem. She was trying to get better only for her son to be taken away, etc. I had enough. I apologized to my brother, but told them to leave. He apologized to me too. They went back out to the party, got their kids, and left. I explained stuff to my family later on because everyone was confused why they left so early. My mom says I overreacted to my sister-in-law's words, and she's always going to take her best friend's side, so not to let it get to me. Just that I was unfair making my brother and nephews leave the party too when it was only sister-in-law's fault. My family's mad at me for how I reacted when I could have ignored her without making them leave. Honestly, I didn't appreciate the disrespect in my home when we're all there for my son's birthday. That's why I don't know if I was an a-hole. I don't think OP is an a-hole, and I can't believe his family took her side. Sister-in-law is enabling a D-addict. Sister-in-law thinks a D-addict would be a better parent than OP. Sister-in-law would be cut off from me, and anyone who took her side would go with her. A bit of context. My mother-in-law grew up in a wealthy family. She had a pony as a child, and her father ran a number of successful car dealerships. By the time she was 17, she received a new car every year on her birthday. When she finished her first year of college, her parents sent her to Europe to go backpacking in a brand new Volkswagen Beetle convertible for 2 months. After her parents passed away, she inherited a substantial amount, but followed the advice of her older brother and invested. She is out of touch with the cost of living. She has a professional assistant who does all her shopping. Last night, while looking on while her grandchildren were playing, she commented that my eldest daughter needs a new iPad. Her current one is a 6th gen. So, without asking, she starts the online ordering process for the latest iPad, but not just any iPad, but an iPad Pro with all the whistles and bells, roughly $1,600, and then says that I will pay her back when it arrives. I told her to stop and that she's overstepping. Then the crap really hit the fan. She starts going on about how my children are going without and how this will negatively affect them as they get older. In reality, they don't go without. My wife, who wasn't there at the time, and I provide well for our children, meeting all of their needs and selectively granting their wants. They are fed nutritious food, clothed well, and attend a good school. We can afford to buy the iPad, but in my opinion, it's an unnecessary purchase. One of my girls is learning soccer and dance, her choice, and the other is now a black belt in TKD, again, her choice. But in their grandmother's mind, they're missing out. They don't go skiing in Vermont or take horseback riding lessons or own a pony. The argument escalated quickly with her son, firstborn, coming to her rescue. He's forever borrowing money from his mom. I was being ungrateful and boorish, so I packed up the kids and left. Upon arriving home, she left 5 voicemails on our answering machine. They start out cordial, directed to my wife, and rapidly go downhill. She has no concept of what she's doing and the consequences. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down and stopping this behavior before it gets out of control? More info. My wife doesn't want to stir up trouble with the mother-in-law. She doesn't like confronting her mom. For me, this was one step too far over the line. This is where the "am I the a-hole" stems from. New update. The brother-in-law has been texting me all day, questioning my decision to not let his mom, mother-in-law, help me. He bragged that she purchased a new iMac for his daughter a few weeks back, for school, but keep in mind the school supplied Chromebooks to every student for virtual learning. His reasoning is that she won't have to squint at a smaller screen. Mommy Dearest dropped $5,000 plus. Oh, and she's 11. If I didn't love my wife so much, I'd head to the hills. There was no indication they were this way while dating or when we first married. My wife's reasoning is that her mother is elderly and won't be with us much longer. OP is not an a-hole. Mother-in-law can't make decisions on a $1,600 purchase and say, "You'll pay her back." Even on $20, there should be a discussion first. And especially with technology, even if it was going to be a gift, OP and his wife might have views on how much access, etc. they want their kids to have. It's the kind of thing that needs to be run by OP first. Sounds like OP and his wife need to talk, to ensure they are on the same page there. Mother-in-law could have been getting different signals from OP's wife. My 38 male brother, 43 male, has always been a butt. He has nice guy syndrome, but in reality, he's a D. He's managed to destroy every relationship he's ever had, while trying to blame everyone but himself. He has a daughter, 20, who I'll call Kay, who he saw when he felt like, which was normally when he was trying to show off to a new girlfriend, until she started to refuse his demands to see her. He blames his ex for that. He likes to pick at her and make fun of her until she nearly cries when he sees her, which I'm sure is a huge reason for her refusing to see him. The rest of the family tried to step up, and she's very close to my sister and I. Our sister got married back in February. During the father-daughter dance, my brother loudly started talking about how he couldn't wait to have the father-daughter dance when Kay got married, asking if lesbian weddings still did that. Kay is not a lesbian. She's a little tomboyish and has short hair, and my brother, for some stupid reason, thinks it's funny to say that even though he's met her boyfriend. He had been picking at Kay all day about stupid things, and she finally snapped and told him she wasn't sure why he thought he'd be involved in a wedding for her at all. He certainly wasn't a good father, and he wouldn't walk her down the aisle or dance with her, and she had planned on asking me to do those things. I said I was really honored, and if she still felt that way whenever she did get married, I'd love to do that for her. My brother flipped out and said I should have refused and insisted that was his job. Sorry, but he was a crappy dad, and I think Kay obviously should be able to choose who she wants to do those things, even if it's not me, without feeling obligated to include someone who contributed to her DNA. My dad, however, said it was an a-hole move to accept right in front of him. Maybe it was. So, am I an a-hole? OP is not an a-hole. The victim in this situation is OP's niece, not OP's brother. OP is standing up for her with her terrible a-hole dad. He's being a real patriarchal weirdo about this. OP didn't do anything wrong by accepting. His brother needs to live with the consequences of his actions.